Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. I just got to make sure the audio is working, but we are here to talk about some news, of course, because there is some news going out. I think there'll be more news later. I feel like there's going to be something that comes out later, but I did want to make the stream now, and then I might also do a video later if we get any more news. But we got a couple of things to talk about. I just need to make sure the audio is actually working first. That'll be a good idea, because if I make this whole stream and then there's no audio, that would be terrible. Okay, we are working. Okay, the audio is working. We are here. Welcome to the stream, and we've got a few things to talk about. I think we should just start off with like the kind of little bit of news, and then we'll get into like the more big news that we have to talk about and the ones with actual articles. But yeah, I think we should start off with just the simple stuff first. I'm trying to get the chat up at the moment. Let me just try and get the chat up, please. Okay, we are here. Yep. Okay, the chat's here. We are here. Welcome. Okay, so the first thing we have to talk about is Leeds United, of course, need a backup fullback with Schmidt leaving, and we know that we needed one anyway, really. I think the club will only get one backup fullback because they do see Byram as a backup right back, I think. I think that's what the club see him as. I think it's right back. Let me just triple check on this, but the club do see... what's it called? They see Byram as capable in the Premier League, and I like Byram, so I'm fine with it, and I think Byram is good enough as a backup to come off the bench, in my opinion. I know a lot of people don't probably agree, but I think Byram is good enough for a player that will come off the bench with 10 minutes, 15 minutes left. He'll come into the game, he'll play defensively and help us grind out a couple of results that we do need. Now, we do need another backup fullback, and I think it would be in our best interest to try and get also another backup fullback who can play left and right, who can play both positions, both fullback roles. That would probably be the best. And the one that we have actually been linked to is James Justin. He's in the thumbnail, of course, in the middle, if you didn't see. But yeah, we're linked to James Justin from Leicester City. And I think it would be a good signing as a backup. He won't start, obviously. He won't be a starter for us, but he'll be a good backup player. He can play both right back and left back, so he's a player who can play on both sides. Last season in the Premier League, he had, what did he have? He played 36 matches, he played 2,928 minutes, got 2 goals, 2 assists. So, yeah, he had an alright season for a team that got relegated. If I could see his stats, I actually want to see how good he did, because I'm not quite sure how good he did. Didn't really watch Leicester at all, really. But, yeah, he had 36 games. He started 34 of those, 81 minutes per game, 2,928 minutes, playing on majority always the right, so he was always the right back. He got in the team of the week twice, scored 2 goals. Scoring freak doesn't matter. Their goals, shots, this doesn't really matter. Let's go to defense. Passing, he got 2 assists. So yeah, 2 goals, 2 assists. His accurate passing was 78%. His accurate passing in his own half was 83%. He had in the opposition half 68%. Long balls accuracy was 30%. Chip accuracy was 40%, and accurate crosses were 19%. He had 2 clean sheets in the whole season. I mean, Leicester were terrible. We got to remember that Leicester were terrible. So he had 2 clean sheets, 1.3 interceptions per game. Tackles per game was 1.6. He had a success. Here's some other stats. He had errors leading to a shot 1. He had errors leading to a goal 2. So he had 2 errors that led to goals. Yeah, he had 41% successful dribbling, 57% total duels won, 59% ground duels won, and aerial duels won was 55%. So he didn't have a terrible season. He got 6 yellow cards, no reds. But yeah, as I said, he'll be coming into the team to be a backup. And personally for me, I think James Justin is a good player who can come in, and if he's needed in games like, you know, if we do get an injury to a Goodmanson, you know, just say we get an injury to a Goodmanson or a Bogle, you probably want James Justin to come in. He can play on both sides, I've already said, so I think he'll be ahead of Sam Byram on both sides. I feel like he'll be the first option to be kind of like, if there's an injury, you bring him in to start the next game more than Sam Byram. That depends on what Fark sees and how the club see it, because the club do see Sam Byram as someone who is capable. The club do see him as capable as a backup, and we do need that other backup with Schmidt going, and it looks like James Justin is going to be that, which I'm fine with. I think it'll be a good signing as a player who's going to come into the side when we need him, play the cup games, you know, play the FA Cup games, play the Carabao Cup games and all that, you know, get the cup minutes basically, play some games, maybe come off the bench and like when we're trying to hold out a lead and stuff like that. So yeah, he won't play a lot, but he's a player that we do need, because we do need a backup. We need someone who's not, we're not going to get an amazing player because it's a backup and we're, you know, a newly promoted club. But yeah, I think it'd be a good signing for us. Yeah, so that's basically it on him. And James Justin, I would be happy with. And yeah, he's a player that I would be happy with coming to Leeds United and being that help that we do need if there's an injury, our backup, you know, a backup option that will be probably good for us. I think he'd have a good season for us because he'll play only in the cup games really, and then come off the bench when needed. Which, yeah, I think that's something that we do need. The next thing is Leeds United target Dobrik, basically, is expected to leave Roma. Dobrik is expected to leave Roma, and there's a chance that we might be able to get him. Now, I'm not going to say this is there's no like actual evidence that we're gonna sign him at all. I think we were linked with him before, so it's kind of one of those like we don't get, that's one of those in my opinion. Another player we're linked to. We'll talk about the other news, which is probably another reason why we are linked to him. We'll talk about next. What we'll talk about next is probably the reason why we're actually linked with Dobrik, who is a striker. There's a reason why we are linked with him, because he's leaving Roma. He had this season, he played 45 games, 17 goals, 3 assists. In the league, he got 12 goals, 2 assists in 32 games. He also played in the Europa League, so he's played European competition. He played 11 of those with 2 goals and 1 assist. And yeah, this is basically a link that we're getting because of the next news that we have to talk about. I just thought I'd talk about it, just say it, because, it's one of those where it's just come out, and it's one of those that you're going to get these type of rumors, especially when this is happening. I'll show you guys this because, yeah. Rodrigo Muniz. Newcastle have made an informed inquiry for Fulham Rodrigo Muniz. No high-level talks have taken place, but intermediaries have been involved in the discussion, and a fee of around £40 million mooted reports. And we know he was going to be around 40 million, and we would spend around 40 million if we did get him. But it just looks like he's not coming to Leeds. I know Newcastle are also in for Wissa, so I feel like he's actually like the next option if they don't get Wissa, and I feel like Wissa's going to go to Scum. I have this weird feeling Wissa's going to go to Scum, basically. And, yeah, that's going to make Rodrigo Muniz go to Newcastle. I think they will end up signing him. So it looks like this might be off the table. Now, he's not the only option. Just because we don't get Rodrigo Muniz, I'm not like, oh, it's over now. Because we've done good business in the window, and people get over, like, mad about everything. It's confusing because we have a good window where we sign some really good players. Like, we've just signed Stack, Perry, recently, Longstaff. I say recently, the recent signings that we made, those kind of signings, and then we don't get one over the line, and then people have an absolute panic, like it's over. But yeah, Rodrigo Muniz might not come to Leeds now. It's not confirmed, of course, because if Newcastle manage to get Wissa, then they won't get Rodrigo Muniz. They won't go in for him. But I do feel like Rodrigo Muniz is going to be their next option if they end up not being able to get Wissa. And yeah, it feels like maybe that this isn't going to happen for Leeds United, which personally I would have liked Rodrigo Muniz because I think he would have got the goals for us that we needed to stay up in the Premier League. We do need a starting number 9 because I don't back Pirro. I don't think Pirro is good enough. Meksh's injury prone, and we do need a third striker anyway, and you'd like it to be better than both. I think going into the Everton game right now, I feel like Pirro is going to start, even though, personally for me, I prefer Metcha because I think he has more to offer, especially with the hold-up play. I think he has more to offer Metcha than what Pirro does. But I do see Pirro starting on the opening day if we don't sign another striker. Even if we did sign another striker, I could probably see Pirro starting anyway, and they would have gave the start to Pirro. But yeah, Rodrigo Muniz look like it's not going to be actually happening, and we won't be able to get him. But it's not over yet. There's twists and turns still to come. We might be able to get him in the end. We never know. But yeah, we know we have to spend 40 million if we did want to get him. I think he would have been a good signing. I did say it's a bit overpriced. I did say it was a bit overpriced, but you have to do that when you want signings that are Premier League proven and players that have done it in the Premier League already. They're going to cost more than players abroad, and you're just going to see that. G'day, mate, from the Netherlands. Seems that every man and his dog is connected to Leeds. Any dogs out there that can score 20 goals in a season? I mean, not many players can score 20 goals in a season. I would love a good player that could score 20 goals in the season, but that's pretty difficult to find, especially in the Premier League. But yeah, because I mean, players don't score that many goals in the Premier League. We just need a striker that could score 10 to 15. Your striker scores 10 to 15. Your wingers score 6 to 8. you know, you have maybe one of our midfielders. I don't think we're going to play with a 10. So you have like a maybe like a Longstaff score 4-5. You have Stack chip in with 3-4. You have, you know, Rodon will chip in with, I think Rodon will chip in with a couple of goals. BL will chip in with a couple of goals. But you need to, like, we need goals around the entire squad, not just one player. And I feel like it's better to have a squad where the striker isn't the one scoring all the goals, because if he scores 20 plus goals, you know what happens next season? One of the big boys will sign him, or one of the teams further up than us will sign him, because they'll be like, well, they're ahead of us, and they'll put in the money and be like, well, he just banged in, like, let's say he got like 20 plus goals, whatever he got, they'll come in and take him. So I'd rather it be like spread out across the entire team, we don't want to just rely on one player to score goals, you know. Because I do think Dan James will have a good season. I think he'll shock a lot of people that aren't Leeds fans. Because I think most Leeds fans see Dan James is going to be having a good season, but I feel like he's going to shock most of like Premier League that don't. They still go, it's Dan James, because they haven't seen how much he's actually improved, especially his finishing in the Championship. So he's a player that I look at as like, he's going to improve, and people are going to be like, oh wow, this is not the same Dan James that was in the Premier League last time. You know, you got Ramazani, who not cool. We don't really know much. We don't even know if he's going to play much, really, Ramazani. Because I'm looking at Ramazani, I'm like, fuck, didn't play much in the Championship. He's not going to start him in the Premier League. Like, he's not going to start him on the opening day. I do think... there's actually an article that just came out about Rodrigo Muniz, and we'll read that. The YP just put out an article about Rodrigo Muniz. We'll go through it and see what was said overall, instead of just, you know, the little bit that I got. But yeah, here we go. So this is what's come out about Rodrigo Muniz. We'll move that over. I think that's good enough. Yeah, we'll do that. Rodrigo Muniz, Leeds United transfer blow as Newcastle join Rodrigo Muniz race. Inquiry made as £40 million fee mooted. Leeds United have already seen a bid rejected from the Fulham striker and could now face a fresh competition. Leeds United target Rodrigo Muniz has embarked as a possible option for Newcastle United as they plan for the possibility of life after Alexander Isak, who probably goes to Liverpool. I think he does go to Liverpool. I don't know if he goes this season. That's the thing. If they can keep him one more season, please, Newcastle. That's kind of why I'm like, Newcastle, keep Isak one more season. Tell him you're not going, because we can then go get him and we can have Rodrigo Muniz. But yeah, Leeds are caught on the crossfire. Can't attract the marquee type, but left with gambles. I don't know, because we got Stack, and I think I know Stack's not like a big name, but I think he's going to be very good. We got Longstaff, who Premier League proven, played a lot of minutes. We're not going to... Pacquiao was one of those dream signings. Let's be real. Pacquiao was one of those dream signings. We didn't get that now. And whoever we get now, people are going to be upset. I can already see that. Whoever we get now, no matter if it is Solomon, which I still kind of think it will be Solomon. I've had this feeling for a while that we'll get Solomon. But even if it's not Solomon, it's another player, people will still be like, well, he's not as good as Pacquiao. So it's kind of, it's not as exciting. But I do think whoever we get will be a good winger, because the club have also said that they're not going to sign a winger who's worse than the current ones we got. So we're not going to sign a winger who's worse than Nonto, Ramazani, James. We're going to try and sign if we sign a winger, it's going to be someone better. If we don't, then we got Jack Harrison, who I know people don't like him, but I still think he's a good footballer, and I think he's got a lot to bring, especially in a Fark side. I think in a Fark side, Jack Harrison will have a good season, even if he's a bench player, because I just think he's got what Fark likes in a player. He presses, he tracks back. Fark likes that in a player that's going to, do the hard work, especially on the wings, which is why Fark didn't really like Nonto at times and Ramazani at times, because they wouldn't track back like Dan James does, who would track back and sprint all the way back to help the fullback more often than the other two, which is something that Fark likes in a winger, which we're going to need in the Premier League. And yeah, I think Harrison stays anyway. I think he'll be used as a bench player, play the cup games, and I think he'll be okay. But we do need a winger. I do think we get a winger in the end. I don't know who it's going to be that we sign as our winger, but I do think in the end we will get another winger. I don't know. Don't know who that's going to be. Maybe Solomon. Maybe not. But yeah. Star striker Isak is currently absent from Newcastle pre-season campaign. Having told Sir James Park chief he is keen to explore other options. This summer, the Swedish international remains a target for Liverpool, who earlier this month also plucked Hugo Ekitike from the Magpies in a £79 million deal. Like, they're going wild, by the way. Liverpool are just going to win the league again. Liverpool are just going to win the league again. That has left Eddie Howe without a first-choice number 9 for preseason, and Newcastle are widely expected to go big, with links to the likes of RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko and Wissa. But now they have reported that our target in Muniz has now been discussed as a potential option. The thing is, if they don't get Sesko or Wissa, then I do think their next option after that is Muniz. So if they don't get either of those two, we're not going to have a chance of getting him. You know, we're not going to have a chance of getting Muniz, because let's be real. As a footballer, what do you want to do? Do you want to play Champions League football or be in a relegation battle? I mean, it's obvious. He wants to play Champions League football, and that's what's going to happen if they can't get the first 2 signings. There's more here about the inquiry. Hang on. There's more here about the inquiry. I thought that was going to be the end of the article. The national outlet claims an informal inquiry has been made as Newcastle scope out multiple striker options, determined not to miss out on a first choice number 9 entirely. The report adds that no high-level talks have taken place yet, but discussions have centered around a potential fee of 40 million. That is 8 million more than the bid Leeds saw rejected by Fulham earlier this summer, with their public stance being that the 24-year-old is not for sale. And while the fresh report of a 40 million pound fee suggests Craven Cottage Chief have their price, competition from a club like Newcastle will certainly reduce the chance of a move down the road. And that's the thing. Fulham aren't going to get rid of him Fulham aren't going to get rid of Muniz unless they get a replacement, which they're looking for a replacement. I don't know who they're going to get as a replacement, but they're looking for another number 9. Another striker who's probably, if they do get him, then Muniz will leave. But if they don't get another striker, then Muniz won't leave. So it's one of those where we're waiting for dominoes to fall, and then Newcastle have come in, and if they don't get what they want and their dominoes fall, and the dominoes fall, and they don't get Wissa and they don't get Sesko, then we're gonna miss out on Muniz. And I don't know who our next option is. As I said, we've been linked to Dobrik, but I don't know if we get him. I don't know if he's good enough. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad player. It's one of those things where it's a risk to go for a player that's not, like, I'd be more safe going for a Muniz who's done it in the Premier League and scored the goals in the Premier League than someone outside the Premier League. Even if the guy outside the Premier League is higher rated than him and more highly rated than Muniz, it's the fact of it's not easy to score a lot of goals. It's not easy to score 10 plus goals in the Premier League. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm in a bubble. Leeds don't take notice of other players like I used to, so I just have to take and trust. I'm confident. I think we get a winger, a striker. We get a backup fullback who might be James Justin, which I'm fine with. I feel like that's all we're going to do. I think we get three signings, and then the 3 signings come through the door, and that's about it. I don't think we get any more. Unless we get another back. Maybe we just get another signing because there's just a player there that we could get as like, okay, we'll bring you in and you'll be like just a player that we sign, like, oh yeah, we do need maybe a bit more depth somewhere. Muniz is not the only striker target named, however. Newcastle are known to be further down the line regarding other options. They are actively pursuing a move for Sesko. Albert, there's a feeling he would prefer Manchester United, while an opening bid, £25 million bid for Wissa has been rejected by Brentford. So yeah, it's one of those where Newcastle Rodrigo Muniz interest potential blow for Leeds United, and that's just continuing basically on the same thing. Wissa has refused to train with Brentford as well. That's another thing. Wissa's refused to train, which basically probably means he wants to go to, he wants to leave. I'm not liking the whole, like, you've seen this a bunch, like, not even just, like, Wissa, Joseph, now Isaac as well. I'm not liking the way the players, how much power some players have, and I think it's disrespectful to not train with the team or go to the team to preseason. I think that's just, I do feel like that's just disrespectful. No player, no matter what club it is, no player's bigger than the club. In reality, fuck off. Like, in reality, no player's bigger than the club, and if any player does this to us, even if they're a top player, I'm going to say how it is, and I want them to fuck off, because no player's bigger than the club, and I want players that actually want to be here. And I think the players have more power these days. But yeah, in a bid to force a move, but after losing manager Thomas Frank, Captain Norgard, Tasman and Bummer both left. Yeah, Brentford are going to be in trouble next season. Yeah, but yeah, it looks like basically I feel like Rodrigo Muniz might not be coming to Leeds, but it's not over yet. But at the moment, I don't think we can get Muniz. I don't think we get him at the moment, but anything can happen. It can all change. You know, Newcastle could get Wissar, and we could be back in as the first option for Rodrigo Muniz. There was this article as well written about. This is the last thing we can talk about. It's about Pacquiao again. This is going to be definitely the last time we talk about Pacquiao. But there was an article that Leeds United and Pacquiao inside about the £35 million pursuit, new signings, midnight court, and what next. The YP has given the inside story of Leeds United's pursuit of a final winner, Pacquiao, and the length they went to for a deal that was scuppered by Marseille. Now, we have to remember, this player, Pacquiao, was like a glamour signing for us. We went in for him because he was that. We put all of our eggs in this basket at the time, so we didn't waste time. I know what some people have been saying, like, we've wasted our own time. We shouldn't have tried to get him. Stupid, because if we did get him, it would be different. But yeah, Leeds United chairman, manager, director, sporting director, manager, and a brand new signing all spent time on the phone to Pacquiao to try and get a £35 million deal done before the player opted for Marseille. Club sources have revealed that although the Whites received email confirmation that Feyenoord had agreed to the terms and their salary offer was agreeable to Pacquiao's camp, sporting director to Adam Underwood never felt like a deal was done and rated their chance at a 50 to 60%. But the situation was a far cry from the landscape that greeted Leeds United 2 months ago. Was there anything else down here? Here it is. Sun and Pacquiao opportunity. The YP understands that at the outset of the transfer window, Pacquiao was not available to Leeds because of his wage demands and price tag are reluctant. Feyenoord would attach to their star winger, but having watched and waited as the demands came down to an achievable level, Leeds were suddenly presented with what they felt was an opportunity to get one of their stretch targets. This is what we're calling. This is one of the stretch targets, which is basically targets that we will go for, but they're like, you don't think we're going to get them. Like, their quality is way above where we are. But yeah, it's one of those where if you get them, you're like, oh, we're sorted. You know, that's one of those signings that get you over the line. They win games by themselves, in my opinion. You know, those type of players. In games where we're struggling, they'll be the one that comes up with the goal, or comes up with the magic play that gets us the goal to basically win a couple of games and get more points to basically keep us up. The top target we missed out on was Rodrigo Muniz, basically. I don't think we're going to get him. So yeah, that's basically all it was. It was just Rodrigo Muniz. Where was I up to? Reluctant to star winger, but haven't watched the way. Leeds were suddenly presented with what they felt was an opportunity to get one of their stretch targets. Leeds' involvement played out over the course of around 9 days. Underwood and head of recruitment Alex Davies presented to the players' camp, and then the club surpassed Marseille with their first offer before upping it to a deal that would have been worth in a total of €35 million, with what they felt was achievable. Add-ons included. Feyenoord confirmed in an email on Saturday, just prior to half-time in the game against Paderborn, that they would accept Leeds United's improved offer. So they were going to actually accept their offer. So it basically came down with what the player wanted. The second point at this stage was their knowledge that Pacquiao was still sold on the idea of playing Champions League football in the south of France, and both clubs went to the phone lines to try and sway him towards a final decision. For Leeds, Adam Underwood, managed director Evans, and chairman Parag went on a call with the Brazilian. Underwood, Evans, and Davies talked to the agent. Daniel Fark also spoke to the target, and close to midnight, Pacquiao compatriot Lucas Perry, who we just signed, whose own move to Leeds United was only announced on Saturday evening, spent an hour chatting to him on the phone to try and help sell the move. So basically, Perry's like, mate, come to Leeds. We're gonna build a squad, and we're gonna build ourselves. For Marseille, Robert De Zerbi took the opportunity to speak with Pacquiao and reiterate the benefits of a project that had already impressed the player and his father. On Sunday, it felt like Leeds had done all they could, and it was down to Pacquiao to make his mind up once and for all. Sources in Holland continued to be sceptical that Marseille could match Leeds, but by Monday things had gone quiet and their confidence of getting a yes diminished entirely. By the early evening, reports in France emerged saying Marseille had got their man. Leeds believed the Ligue side finally upped their offer from an initial bid of 23 million euros plus 7 million in add-ons to something closer to what the Premier League side were offering earlier this week. The players' camp told the YAP that it had been a very difficult personal and family decision, but Champions League football played a big part in his thinking. Leeds also believed that their newly promoted status and the fortunes of recent Premier League new boys entered the mind because of the last 2 seasons that all the clubs that have gone up have gone straight back down, and that's just what happens. Basically, what's next for Leeds United? Pacquiao has been described by club sources as a unique opportunity and a perfect fit because of his age, relative experience, and ability to create and talk his own goal-scoring opportunities. This was a player Leeds felt was worth waiting 2 months for a chance to get to the table and negotiate, but with a little over a month left in the window, their effort have been to naught. And the question begin to ask, what's next, basically. So yeah, we're basically linked with a bunch of players. Right after we were linked, I mean, as soon as Pacquiao didn't get announced, the first thing you see is Johnny Rowe linked to Leeds, and like a couple of other wingers we were also linked with, and I'm just looking at it like, that's stupid, because none of that was ever going to happen, by the way. Don't believe the quick links that come out, because journalists just posted link after link to other left wingers basically right after the Pacquiao deal didn't get announced. So you could just see that was a bunch of bullshit, basically. But yeah, that's not getting over the line. We'll move on and we'll try and find another player. I don't know who the winger's going to be. As I said, it might be Solomon, which I personally would be fine with. I think Solomon's good enough. Yeah, he's another Brazilian. Running out of top target suitable for Leeds, who's I don't know. But yeah, the thing is, I'm fine with Solomon, but I'm also fine with anyone else who could be seen as a better player than Solomon. Don't really know much about any wingers, because the ones we are linked to currently right now are wingers that I'm like, no, like Johnny Rowe, no, we're not going to get Johnny Rowe, please no. We're not going to get a player from Marseille after what they've done to us. We're not doing that. We're not going to do that. I think we'll get a good option. If we don't get another winger, as I said, it'll probably be just Jack Harrison as the 4th choice, and then you'd have James. I think DJ starts on the right, and then your left is going to be... At the moment, I'm confused, because the winger options, Nonto can play both sides. Ramazani's a left. Harrison's a left. All of their players are left, and Nonto can play both sides. And Dan James is the only right winger, that plays better on the right. I think Nonto's played good on both sides, to be honest, in pre-season. I would like Nonto to start on the left against Everton. I think he deserves to start against Everton on the left. And I think James will start on the right. If we don't bring in another winger, of course, like a Solomon or someone else, that'll be more ahead, because the club have already said that we're not gonna bring in a winger who's below the wingers we already have. So we're not gonna bring in a Johnny Rowe who would be behind a Ramazani, behind a Nonto. We're only gonna bring in a winger if he's better. Basically, if he's better than what we've got. And I think that will be a left winger either way, which has confused me kind of, because I do think we need more of a right winger than a left winger. Because as I said, on the right you got James and Nonto, but the left you got Nonto, Ramazani, Harrison. So we got more left wingers than right wingers, unless this is basically just telling us that if we do sign a winger, Harrison's gone. But we're not gonna be like, oh yeah, Harrison can just go on the cheap. Like, we want 10+ million for him, which I don't think a club will come in for him. So I think he stays either way. As I said, which I'm fine with, but yeah, I think we need probably more of a right winger than a left. But unless the clubs see Nonto as a right winger option as well, and they're like, well, he can play on both sides. But James will start the season. As I said, I think the Everton game is going to be James on the right, Nonto on the left. I think that's how we'll start. I'm hoping that we do sign someone else before the season ends. Like, we could make a signing after the first game. But yeah. Muniz, Haven't we got enough wingers? Yeah, I do agree we got enough wingers, but I do think the club want another upgrade on wing because we do have 4 wingers, but I do think the club do want another winger because we haven't replaced Solomon. We still haven't replaced Solomon. I think that's what the club see. We haven't replaced Solomon yet, and they want to replace Solomon. Whether that's bringing him back or bringing someone else in that, you know, as good or maybe even better than Solomon. But yeah, I do think that's what the club see. With Bamford and Joseph out of the way, it's opened doors for reshuffling striker options. Yeah, we do need another number 9. We need a starting number 9, in my opinion, that goes ahead of Pirro and Mecha. I think Mecha's shown a lot of promise. I like Mecha, but he's as injury prone, if not worse than Bamford. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see how long he actually lasts before he breaks down. Hopefully we're able to keep him fit, basically. But Pirro, I just don't see as a Premier League striker. I don't mind him starting on the opening day, even though I'd prefer Mecha because I think Mecha's a better player all around as a striker. I see a lot of what Bamford does in Mecha, which I'm really liking because it's the hold-up play. It's the bringing others into play. It's the way he gets the ball, which I'm liking. I think Pirro is more of like the ball drops to him in the box. I don't want any other player there but Pirro, of course. If the ball drops to him, I want Pirro there more than any other player. But it's one of those things where everything else and the pressing and the running, I just don't think Pirro does that enough. But we'll see how good he is. I hope Pirro proves me wrong and a lot of people wrong. We do need a number 9. Hopefully Bamford does find a club. I think that'll be good. I hope he does, and he's not just stuck in the under-21s basically for the rest of the, for the season before his contract runs out. I hope he does find a club so he can go play football. Also, that saves us 70k a week, because he would have been on 70k a week this season. So that gives us more money that we can put in wages for our main number 9, which is good. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm going to end the stream now. If you guys are new, make sure to please subscribe to the channel, like the video, like the stream, and I'll catch you guys next time, which I think will be later today. I feel like there'll be something that comes out, and it will either be a video or a stream, maybe, depending. I do think something else will come out later today. I have a feeling we're going to get more news later today, maybe on a winger that's actually like a good winger that you could go, oh, a good link that's believable and a good player. Or a striker. Maybe we're linked with another striker that's like reasonable and you're like, oh, I'll take him. But yeah, we'll see what happens for the rest of the day. I think there will be some more news. But yeah, I'll see you guys.